Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, and we're going into closed session, and then we'll be back here to commence the regular council meeting, hopefully before 4:30. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, can I get two for
Need
closed?
to move, pardon?
Can I get two for closed, Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Councilor Boyce, Councilor Armstrong. Okay, thank you.
Anyways, I could probably get a kick out of that.
and the land acknowledgement and the national anthem. Thank you very much.
We begin this meeting by acknowledging that Quinte West is on Indigenous land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. We thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Long before today, there have been Indigenous peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte First Nation. This territory is covered by numerous treaties. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples have made, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. This acknowledgement serves as recognition of the contributions and historical significance of Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island and demonstrates our collective commitment to meet the promises and address the challenges of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission within our community.
Please be seated. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Certainly haven't got a big crowd, but we're blessed with who we have. So I'm going to start off with any opening remarks from any announcements to carry forth from Councillor Stedall.
Thank you, Worship. Just a little bit of an update. I know some of our fellow councillors couldn't make it to Roma. So just a couple things that happened at the recent conference in Toronto. It showcased educational programming, expert panels, inspiring keynotes, and the opportunities to hear directly from the Premier of Ontario and engage with different ministry leaders. The minister or the Premier's speech about Canada's not for sale was well taken with the crowd. But during the conference, we participated in delegations with meetings alongside the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus. We met with the Minister of Solicitor General, the Ontario Fire Marshal, the Minister of Finance, and the Ministry of Infrastructure to discuss Quinte West's current needs and future opportunities. We discussed with the Ministry of Infrastructure about our wastewater treatment plant and the trunk sewer line replacement at the west end of the city. And this included talking about the high cost of renewing infrastructure, including items about the water main break that we had last year was brought up, and the heavy debt burden or high taxes, which we don't want to have as alternative financing in order to replace those items. We talked jointly with the Eastern Ontario Mayor's Caucus to ministers as well about the high costs of liability insurance due to the joint and several legislation, which makes municipalities more responsible than others when claims are settled, and about additional costs for policing and fire due to changes in legislation. And we heard about new grants, such as the Rural Economic Development Strategy announced by one of the ministers, and with $10 million in annual funding. It used to be the old RED program that was announced. They also announced new measures with the Rural Economic Development Strategy, as I indicated, a new $175 million health and safety water stream which is going to help us with our municipal housing infrastructure program. And then there's some other announcements that are going to come. So it was really an excellent it was a good gathering with our colleagues to talk about them and hear about some other solutions that came up. I know they talked about, health costs and different things like that that are kind of outside of our bailiwick. And Renfrew County had a really good suggestion about how they deal with the homeless. And they actually are saying they have no homeless in Renfrew County because of their program. So those types of stories were really well done.
I attended a long-term care seminar, and they were talking about a lot of the things we talk about locally. One of the main concerns about agency nursing costs. QHC, for example, spent $2 million on paying exorbitant rates for nurses who come in for a couple of days a week. They get per diem, and sometimes they're led around by the other nurses all day long while they're trying to do their job. Another one, they really want to stress trying to locate seniors in the communities they lived and worked in versus being shipped here, there, and everywhere. And it's quite a burden on the families, but it's also a bit of a dignity thing they were talking about. And then basically they talked about Toronto shutting down 6 long-term care facilities, and they want them to rebuild or something, along with some other things.
Okay, thank you. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, we had some good news. There was some additional funding approved for some agencies that had denied their funding, like Community Partners for Success, like Food for Learning, and some other ones, which was great. Councillor Sharp, myself, and Councillor Armstrong were on that committee that helped to approve those. I'd like to thank staff for the skate party with the mayor last week. It was well attended. Staff did a great job organizing it. There were a lot of staff there too. Thank you very much. And this weekend, there's the Trenton Memorial Hospital Foundation fundraiser from the Quinte team. It's sold out, and I'd like to thank all the members of the public that have helped donate all the prizes. I think we're going to have a really successful event this weekend. Thank you.
I'm just concerned with one prize that's been donated. Are you the captain of that?
I'll take you on a different ride if you'd like.
Yeah, sure you, with no plug in the boat, right? Yeah, I'm just tormenting you, you know that. That's a good idea. Get them out and see what the water's like and just see how clear it is. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, and thanks to Council O'Neill for donating that pontoon boat. I bid out, they've outbid me. I want to also add some good news, and again, with Councilor Armstrong and Councilor O'Neill from the Community and Human Services Committee last week, in addition to what Councilor O'Neill has indicated, there was approval, and this has been a long time coming and a large process as we work through housing in our community. The committee has recommended the tender for the development of 20 South Street and awarded the tender $12,700,000, 32-unit building. What's that?
He doesn't know either.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Councillor Quinte. And it's been awarded to Dahlman Limited out of Coburg, who have a lot of experience in building affordable housing. This will be mixed units, and it will have rent geared to income housing as well as market housing. And they plan to start in April of 2025 and have this housing project completed by October of 2026. So it's a huge step forward as we work forward, and we will be working towards our next phase, which is with the remaining of the property at College Street. So we are moving forward with respect to housing, and it's a major step, and I'm thankful for Hastings County and all the work we're doing together in this regard. Thank you.
I'll go to, I got this with Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did too want to recognize our council members and the approval of that extra round of funding at the Hastings County Committee. Certainly very important, will have tremendous impact within the community. It was really great to see, and I'm very, very happy about that. Also, too, I didn't mention the last meetings in December, but Quinte West was made a B City, officially recognized as a B City, with B City Canada accepting our application on December 10th it was. They mentioned they were impressed by our emphasis on pollinator habitat creation and promise to promote community engagement and communication on this topic. So just wanted to let everyone know.
Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too want to thank the three councillors, Armstrong, O'Neill, and Sharp. I know food for learning was something near and dear to me, and just as a volunteer in the past, and to see them get the funding as well as the other groups, that was certainly very good news. And I also want to publicly thank the Quinte team led by Lorraine Quinn, who, as Councillor O'Neill mentioned, has put on the kitchen party in support of the emergency building, and being involved. It's wonderful to see so many groups come forward with donations, and I always say that the Bay of Quinte area and the residents are so generous when it comes to donations, and I'm expecting a big evening there. And even more of a surprise was actually seeing Councillor O'Neill's donation of the boat and his offer, which I still can't believe, that he would pay for lunch to the winning people. So thank you to Councillor O'Neill for again being so generous.
He can't get over the shock either. Why is it? Why is this? Okay, go ahead. Anybody else? Councillor Freeman or Councillor Reed? No? Councillor Coonsey?
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor, sorry, there's one more thing, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I don't know if this was announced, but I know that there's been some discussion on it. Quinte West is it was announced there's a U-Haul study that the fastest growing communities in Canada, and we're listed, I believe, as fourth. Yeah, I think that's, stellar. I know that I had heard about it on the news, and I didn't know if it had been mentioned here or not.
And that helps us in one way, but the other way, we have to build houses, and in order to build houses, we have to have,
Infrastructure.
yes, we have to have
Which-
lines in
money.
place that will take the waste where it should be.
Money.
And money is what it takes. So I can't tell you specifically, but I know that there will be some announcements coming forth, and there'll be good announcements, because they're good in terms of money for the city, which will help us with some of our projects. So that's good news. I can only tell you to listen. I'd be glad to tell you more if I could, but sorry, that's all I can say right now. So, okay. And I want to thank Director Denowden for his presentation at Roma, indicating to the ministers involved and other ministers as well that we are, we're doing our best to look after our master plan and look after our infrastructure, but we'd certainly appreciate any additional funding and any additional support. And the only other way that we as a council can do anything to reduce the cost to the ratepayer is to reduce service. And nobody is coming to me and saying that I want fewer services. And a good example this time of year is sanding and salting and plowing roads. And nobody is saying that don't do mine. And we're not going to go that way because we believe that the level of service that we are providing is essential to the safety of all the residents in the city of Quinte West. And if we don't do what we're doing, we're increasing the possibility of accidents, and accidents cost money. They cost all of us money and sometimes lives, which are even more drastic. As you know, lately there have been some very serious ones. So we want to continue with the level of service that we're providing, and we will continue to do that. Director Angelo, anything else that you'd like to add to that? I'm sorry, Acting CEO Angelo.
No, nothing, Your Worship. Thank you.
And I want to mention about how much a new truck is worth in terms of replacement, just tell.
No, not at this time, Your Worship, no.
Okay, all right, thank you. I won't either then. Okay, let's get on. Thank you very much. Okay, any disclosures of pecuniary interest? declare that closed. Approval of the agenda, please. Counselor Armstrong moves, seconded by Counselor Card. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Thank you. Approval of the minutes and minutes of the special council budget meeting held December the 4th and the 5th of 2024. Minutes of the special council budget meeting held on December 4th and 5th, and the minutes of the regular council meeting held on December 11th, and minutes of the regular council meeting held on December 11th and approved, and 2024 be approved, and further the minutes of the closed session council meeting held on December the 1st. So, mover and the seconder for that. I got it? Okay. Any comments or questions? You good? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Carried. Okay. All right, delegation, Roxanne Croteau, resident, will address us with respect to the bylaw for the prohibition and regulation of the being at large or trespassing and harboring of cats and other animals other than dogs in the city of Quinte West. Thank you very much for coming, Roxanne.
Good evening, Mayor Arson, Council. Thank you for having me today to provide you with my presentation. There you go. Okay. So today I will present you with my intent, followed by the positive impact and advantage of the proposal, and I'll follow with my proposal in conclusion. So the intent is to request a modification to the current zoning bylaw number 1490 in prohibiting cats from being at large and allowing for the seizure, impounding, and sale of impounded animals. I am seeking an amendment to exempt properties designated as agricultural zoning as their immediate surrounding from this bylaw. So the positive impact of going ahead with this amendment would follow the tradition and bring some practicality. As you know, cats have been part of agricultural life for centuries, and they're an effective pest control, and they help to protect the crops, the feeds, and the infrastructures. Using cats for pest management is an environmentally friendly and ethical way compared to traps or poison and other harmful substances. Oops. Other advantages are economical, of course. It costs money to farmers to keep cat restraint, to put fence up, and in order to have trackers to know where their cats are at any time, on top of having to monitor their positions. And it would minimize the enforcement requirements. The enforcement officer would not have to monitorize a large area. Agricultural land is often referred to a larger area. It would reduce the number of nuisance calls as well. It would align with rural lifestyle. Applying the same rules to agricultural zones fails to recognize the distinct needs of practice of farming communities. And finally, it would not impact, so it would have a low risk on urban impact to only exempt the agricultural zoning. So the proposal is to add a provision exempting properties designated as agricultural zoning and their adjacent area within a reasonable radius from the prohibition and penalties regarding cats at large. It would include a statement acknowledging the essential role of animals, such as cats, in agricultural practices and balancing the need for animal control in urbanized zone. And it would also encourage responsible pet ownership in agricultural zones through non-restrictive measures, such as educational outreach, rather than enforcement-focused penalties. In conclusion, I believe agricultural zone operates under fundamentally different conditions than urban or suburban area, and therefore a one-size-fits-all approach to bylaws may not be appropriate. This amendment would respect the unique needs of agricultural communities while maintaining the broader goals of the bylaw for urban and suburban area. I am confident that this balanced approach will meet the needs of all stakeholders involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, and thank you for coming. I'm going to admit that I was the first to be surprised that we already didn't have this exemption in place. Many friends who own farms, have barn cats and different things. What made you aware of this to begin with?
I actually recently moved into the Quinte West. I came from Belleville, and we just bought a farm, and we had a cat as part of the farm. That was a promise I did for my daughter. And our cat was impounded twice since we moved.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'm hoping that, Your Worship, we can get a report to come back to staff on this.
Make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that it comes back to staff, because quite frankly, I'm surprised that we have this rule.
Thank you.
Councillor Card, second? Are you second? Okay, so you got a move and a seconder. Any more questions? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, public input is where I'm at right now. Any public input, please come up, state your name and your address.
Shane Grob. I was here on December 19th from my doggy daycare. I'm here again. I just have a few items to bring to your attention. One was, after reviewing both meetings between the other daycare and mine, it was clear that equal treatment in the eyes of the law was very apparent. It became more apparent when there was no equal treatment to my operation and the other one down the road. My operation should be entitled to the same consideration and relief as the other operation. I should be granted the same relief as the other operation, or their approval as you approved them in December should be rescinded. Seems a good weight was given to the fact that property standards had been to my location, but it wasn't very clear why. There was a lot of emphasis placed on the comparison of how both operations were running and the amount of money either company had invested into the operation. She's been running for over 30 years, so she obviously had a lot of money invested into hers already. As I've been operating my business for a few years now already, I've also invested money into my business as well to make it better for the dogs and more room as well. The agent that was speaking for her as well.
I'm just going to interrupt you. What you need to do to be fair is you need to make a request to the clerk to come back to the next council meeting and present your information. This is public input, and it's with respect to public input is with respect to items on the agenda at present.
I was told this meeting was the meeting. It'll be coming up here. Planning and Development, minutes of planning for 10.3A.
Okay, well, are we okay then? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a quick, there's 2 more points here. The one was when the agent was speaking for the other operator, discussing if she were to sell her property, the owner of that new property would have to come and speak to the council and then take over their operation, making it seem like it was a permanent operation at her location. I therefore propose the following. I ask that I be approved for a 2-year land change with the intent to move to a more permanent location to the dogs. So I will not be there permanently. I am asking for time to set things in order so I can move to a permanent location.
Just because I'm not familiar, was this something from planning? Oh, okay, so it wasn't from our council meeting, it was the planning meeting. Okay, thank you.
Time or any, it's at this time.
If any members of council have any questions related to this application or the other one that's referred to, I can certainly respond. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Councillor.
I tuned into that, and there was something about a number of bylaw complaints related to this operation.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair. So, okay, so two very similar applications on the same agenda for dog sitting services within a residential home. One of which has been operating for a number of years and was granted a temporary use bylaw by the city, not this gentleman's, the other one, and their request was to extend that period of time for the approval. The gentleman made a separate application for his property to do a very similar operation. To start with, no prior approvals there. The staff recommendation on both was to deny both applications. Even on the other property, the history of our reports to the committee have been recommending against support of these uses. The use of a residential property in a residential setting for a kennel effectively is not something we could support under normal planning policies. It opens up all sorts of potential for land use planning conflicts, such as the rationale behind normally where kennels are permitted, as most of us are aware, are in rural areas where there's large areas of space and ability to separate from homes and reduce the impact. So definitely the conversation at the committee meeting related a lot to the way in which the existing known operation has been operating and the lack of conflict that it has caused to date. But from the staff perspective, we were very clear that from the perspective of our recommendation, how they run the operation does not impact our recommendation. We look at the appropriateness of the land use, and we could not support either of the applications, and those were the recommendations placed to the committee.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is that we supported one, and you're telling me that the land use, the zoning of that land is not appropriate, basically. Is that correct?
That was our recommendation on both of the applications and has been on previous applications on the other property. Yep.
So I don't know whether we can we give, what time frame are you asking for? What are you looking?
Changed her zoning from a 3-year period to a 2-year period. I'm asking you to do the same for me as well, and I will find a new rural location for the dogs within that 2-year period of time. I will move my location to a more permanent location, which is more suitable in the eyes of the committee for my dogs. I just need time. I'm asking for 2 years for the land change on my land until I can make the changes.
Okay, I think we need to have a staff report come back here and clearly identify what we can do as council. Unless somebody's got some other, CEO Angelo.
Your Worship, my advice to all of you is that if you want to, when it comes to the planning minutes, save and accept that deals with the applicant's or the decision on the applicant, and refer that back to the planning committee.
Okay.
I believe that meeting was January. We're approving December's here, so we're not even dealing with the planning minutes. Okay.
Councillor.
Thanks.
Councillor Kutsovas.
Thank you. So, yes, those were the December minutes for the planning. We've had 2 planning meetings in the span before we've had 1 council meeting. Now, it's a little bit more complicated. Some of the bylaw officers came that weren't dog-related, so to put that into context, myself and another public member actually didn't vote in favor of the second application to what this gentleman said. We were being fair, and if we denied one, we went on the staff approval and denied both of them. So I'm just giving a bit of context. If we were to save and accept his minutes, then really we should be looking at the last application as well. And when the planning minutes came around, I wanted to actually save and accept the first agenda item on that as well, because some of the residents are actually here that they were at the planning meeting, and I know they want to speak to it. They weren't in favor of the structure on Fourth Avenue. But since they made the trip down, I'd like to give them the opportunity to speak should they want to. If not, I would like to speak to that agenda item as well, rather than deferring it.
Anything else? So basically, when we come to the planning minutes, we will deal with it appropriately at that time, correct? Go ahead.
Through your worship, I believe we would also need a motion to defer this back or refer this back to the planning committee and for staff to provide a follow-up report to planning committee if that's council's wish.
Okay. I didn't hear that, but we'll see. Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy to make that motion. I guess at the planning meeting, I'm sympathetic to what you're saying, first off. I think that the original issue was the temporary approval of the other location when it clearly isn't a good land use, and that has, I think that the issue with that, and I understand that there are supporters of that business within the community and use it, but it opens up the door to situations like this where we appear to be unfair and giving unequal treatment, and I know that there is certainly the bylaw issues that maybe separate the two, but from a land use perspective, frankly, they both shouldn't exist. And planning is really put in a tough position because the other business, as you mentioned, has been running for so long. The entire structure, as I understand it, has been modified to basically just the business purposes. It's not even really a residential house anymore. It's essentially just been completely renovated to support the business. So it wasn't. I wasn't happy with having to deal with the issue. I'm happy to move a motion to send it back, but I don't know that the outcome will be any different. I don't think either of them should. It's not a good location for either, frankly. But I will make the motion to send it back. But I think it's going to be a heavy lift.
Okay. That's the best we can do right now. We'll come back to it, okay.
If Councillor Quince's.
Councillor Quinte, sorry, go ahead. You're muted. Still muted. You're muted.
Oh my God.
There, okay.
This computer's about.
It's not the volume. You can turn the volume down a little.
The Chris's Doggy Daycare on West Myra Street has been in operation for decades, actually. And it did come before the planning committee, I want to say in either 2017 or 2018. Staff did recommend to not proceed, but the committee at that time granted temporary use, as Planning Director Jordan has mentioned. And basically, my vote or support for Chris's Doggy Daycare is only if the owner, Shelley, last name's escaping me right at this second, as long as she's the owner-operator of it. And basically, in 2018, when the city got involved with that business, the chief building inspector was involved and the bylaw officers got involved, and she actually had to invest into separating inside the dwelling, investing a substantial amount of money so that there is a residence in that building. It's not just a doggy daycare business. So there is a residence in that building, and it's all separated, meets all the fire codes and the building codes that were implemented at that time. And I know that she invested roughly $50,000, if not more, to make it so. And I'm not prepared to change my vote or change my decision for another doggy daycare within the subdivision. Many neighbors around the new, or I guess hoping to be a new one on Montrose Road, many neighbors have come forward to me to say they aren't interested in having another doggy daycare in the subdivision, and I'm not going to be changing my mind or my vote. The only thing that I will change it if the ownership of Chris's doggy daycare on West Moira Street should change, then I'll be supporting staff's recommendation and not allowing a doggy daycare business to continue in the subdivision. Thanks.
Councillor Stedall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would concur with Councillor Quinte, and I know that this issue has been ongoing with the neighbors for a number of years, and I believe planning and bylaw staff have dealt with this thoroughly, and I believe that the discussion on this issue was dealt with at the planning meeting, and the recommendations, I believe, based on the information that I've received and watching the planning meeting in the background, et cetera, and with bylaw as well, I believe that they used their due diligence to come to the decision that's already been made, and I don't think taking it back at this time is optimum use of our staff's time.
Thank you. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Anyone else for public input? Anyone else? Anyone else? Come on up. Yeah, come on up to the mic, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, council members.
Your name?
My name is Brad Cheese, and I live at 422 Dundas Street West, beside the empty property on 4th Avenue where a contractor would like to build a 12-plex, where he originally said he wanted to build a, couple three plexes. It's a very big building. I just wanted to get across. I didn't speak much last time. Ty, the other neighbor on the other side, had spoken quite eloquently about the system, a lot of the safety issues and the things that did come up. I just wanted to maybe talk more about the aesthetic look. It's a beautiful part of our city, and I don't know if anybody in the council knows it here, but from my front porch, I can watch the drone shows and the fireworks shows from my front porch, my front veranda. And my house has been there 100 years almost. So, the contractor has an opportunity to make a really nice building there with some a showpiece, and I think he's more worried about the bottom line than he is about the property itself. He's bought in the property, and I understand he gets to do what he wants to do about it, but there is 500 kids that walk between those schools every day, all day long. We see them. And I wouldn't want to be looking into my backyard on my veranda if I was a smoker, which I'm not, rather than looking out down number 2 and being able to see the air base and the airplanes taking off. But his design has everything out back, 3 stories high, staying in my backyard. He has an opportunity to make it a really nice piece of property. We also want to know, he says he wants to be high-end. What's that mean, high-end? Are they going to be is it going to be affordable housing? Like, what's a high-end apartment go for nowadays? $3,000 a month? That's high-end. Who can afford that in Trenton? So I just wanted to bring some of these things up so that before we make a decision just to throw a piece of something into that property, that we really think about what's going on there. We're very proud of our home, and we're one of the nicest homes as you drive into the town. We take really nice care of it. And we don't mind being in the nice old home beside the nice apartment building, but we don't want something different than that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else for public input? Anyone else? Okay, we'll keep going then. Thank you very much. First is the resolution staff report QW 2025-0007 by Sarah Pond, and that's a resolution regarding audit and risk advisory committee matters for council consideration. Approval will be received. Okay, need a mover. Councillor Stedall moves.
Actually, Your Worship, I'm wondering if we can pull one of these resolutions. There's a number of them in here.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if we can pull the resolution that regarding the insurance deductible, the second part of it, and deal with that separately from the rest.
Well, you want to group, you want to take them all and put them together except for that one? Is that what you're saying? But I don't know whether everybody else agrees with that, so.
I'll second the motion.
Pardon?
I'd second the motion.
Okay, okay, all right. So that's a motion, you got that? Mr. Clerk, you're good?
Through, excuse me, through you to council, the way that I have them listed on the agenda is they're already separated, so council can deal with them one at a time, with one matter at a time. So if you want to put them together and then pull specific ones, you can certainly do that, or you can just deal with them one matter at a time.
Okay, so we got a motion to deal with them except for the, which one is it again that we're pulling out? The one with the, okay. Increase for the, okay. Insurance risk management, that's the one we're pulling out. Okay, the one for 250,000. Okay, so all the rest, we're willing to approve. Okay, I got a mover and a seconder. Everybody, all in favor is what I need to see. Okay, carried, thank you. All right, then we take a look at the one which is the, further council approved the increase to the deductible to 250,000. And that's the one that we need to look at. And further, that council received the overview of the 2024 insurance risk management as information. Okay, so that's the one that we want to take a look at. Got any comments? Go ahead. Who's on first? Who's on first? Councillor Stedall, I guess you're the only one, so go ahead.
So I would recommend, I know this came from we have a committee that dealt with it, and it went through it at the time in talking about, so we had a presentation that was done by a subsidiary of our insurance company to talk about what our, what our insurance was, what the different risks were, and that insurance company consultant made the recommendation that we increase our deductible from $100,000 to $250,000. The additional cost for this is not an increase in our 2025 budget. The savings that is presented is $109,000, which the recommendation is that that money then would go back into a reserve, and that we start to fund or fill up the reserve with savings that we would have in our insurance policy, effectively making us self-insured. So we would end up partially self-insuring. Obviously, if the claim came in at a couple of $1 million, then, we'd pay the first $250,000, and then the balance of it would be paid by the insurance company. My concern here is that the reason for our insurance increasing is because of joint and several liability, which means the municipality is getting stung with court cases that are settled. And by us increasing our deductible, which we've already increased it from $10,000 up to $100,000 over a few years, we're feeding into the insurance companies and saying we're taking their recommendation so that they can limit their liability that we have to pay. If we have an incident, heaven forbid that it would be something that would be traumatic, but if we had multiple claims in 1 year or in over a couple of years, and then our deductible and we lost, then we'd have to pay the $250,000. So $250,000 comes out of the city pocket. That to me is a risk that I don't feel that we should be taking at this point in time. When we were at Roma, there was a conversation there, and I know the other municipalities in the province are having the same issue with this joint and several liability. It was indicated to us that there's a working group that's going to be happening, and that we should get involved with that, because there are other models that are across Canada and various, mostly other provinces, that we can take a look at, and other models that have been used in the past, like the OMEX model, which is a full self-insured, that could help us. But us moving to the $250,000 deductible for a population size of 48,000 I believe it's unprecedented. We'd be stepping ahead of the pack, and we would, like I said, I feel that we'd be playing into the insurance company's pocket, and we would also be adding risk to our ratepayers, and we certainly can't afford if we didn't have enough money in our reserves to cover this. So I would recommend that instead of the $250,000 deductible for this year, we remain at the $100,000 deductible, and we do more research with this working group that the ministries are talking about.
Okay, joint and several liability is not new. It's been around a long time. So
It hasn't cost us a
yes,
lot of money.
it has, and we were very fortunate. Director Denouden, do you want to make any comments at this time?
Yeah, just our report to the committee was mostly around the work we did on the actuarial analysis. So we really took a look at the total cost of risk and where we best spend our money. And so looking at the deductible of 100, 250,000, we look at the cost of risk. It's better for us to save the 109,000 in premiums to take on that extra 150,000 of risk, because our claims are so low, and you can put that money into reserves and then offset that potential claim. And so the math equation of looking at our historical claims, the industry claims, that's done by an actuarial group, was done to make sure this was a wise decision. If the cost of risk was higher, we wouldn't propose increasing from 100 to 250.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do agree that it wouldn't cost, we budgeted for 8%, and I believe the increase is only 5.89%. The thing is, I'd like to know how much we have in reserves right now, and I agree with you, we're exposing ourselves, we could have multiple claims. So to save 109,000, we might spend a lot more. I'd just like to know how much we've saved from increasing the deductible right now. And I'd also like to get Councillor Quinte's take on this. One of the reasons I went for the extra 250 was someone that I respect that's in the business. So, thank you.
And then I'll go to Councillor Quinte.
Yeah, so page 7 of the report, we have a projection of our reserves. At the end of 2023, the insurance reserves are at 760,000. It's expected that at the end of 24, we're just doing our year-end accrual for 24, but we believe we'll be able to put money into the reserve and around 850,000. So we're just below $1 million at the end of 2024.
Thank you. Okay, Councillor Quinte, we're asking for a political answer.
All right, here we go. Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
It's all about risk and appetite for risk. And any organization, including the City of Quinte West, in the past 6 or 7 years, we've made great strides to improve training of our staff, make our staff aware of situations and become further educated on risk. We look after our own buildings. We look after our own water plants. We look after our own heavy equipment wherever possible. We're taking more and more responsibility of our properties and our equipment and our buildings in everything we do. And it's all part of risk management. And so by taking a larger deductible for our insurance policies, it's all just part of what we need to do for managing our risk management. And yes, we want to put any savings back into the insurance reserve because nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or 3 weeks from now. But our city is in great position to do just exactly this. We have staff members who are overlooking our insurance and how the claims proceed. We use a professional claims adjusting service that not only adjusts for the City of Quinte West, but they adjust claims for insurance companies. Insurance companies hire this same organization to settle claims on their behalf. And we're just using their knowledge and their expertise to do the exact same thing. And by taking a larger deductible on our insurance, we're actually making ourselves a better risk for a rather difficult insurance market. I know there's some comments in the report about insurance markets being hard and soft. And really a soft market is the insurance companies are looking to write up business, and they don't care what they do to have to get the business. But then when all the claims start happening, or if the financial market should change, then they get into a hard market and they don't want to help out anymore, or they don't even offer insurance. And that's the risk that Quinte West has, that if we aren't showing that we are making these efforts with our staff training, with our investment in our equipment and buildings and facilities, and making our selves become a better and better risk, we can face not being renewed. There are many communities who can't even get cyber insurance. But the city of Quinte West has cyber insurance, and we have it because we are proactive in training staff and even training council members. Just 3 months ago, I actually worked away and completed the questionnaire that was required by staff, which of course had been requested by the insurance company. Well, I guess I should say our broker. So the city of Quinte West is using an insurance broker that specializes in municipal insurance and large corporations that have unique risks, and our broker has stepped up to help us. They've in today's report, they've made a study, or we're going to be working on a study to track different scenarios when it comes to liability and errors and omissions and the directors and officers. And then next year we're going to do the same thing with I don't remember which one we're going to do next, whether it's the auto policy, which we have several vehicles, and there's lots of work that needs to be done to make sure our drivers are trained, that their training is up to date, that everybody has a proper license, and they have the correct classifications. And so by us doing this extra work and extra investment in our own city, this is the exact reason why we should be doing the $250,000 deductible. If I didn't answer all your questions, please reach out or ask me now. I'm supporting that we go to the $250,000 deductible.
Thank you. Councillor Card?
Thank you, Your Worship. I am going to trust the actuarial analysis and support the recommendation and Audit and Risk Committee's recommendation, but I am sympathetic to the fears of, outlier years possibly coming and maybe changing some of that math in the future. So through you to Director Denowden, what would when would this policy, if it was the recommendation, was it accepted? When would we have a chance, when would be the soonest we would have a chance to seek the old deductible again, if council wanted to do that?
Yeah, so if you're talking about, we do annual renewals, so we can change our deductible annually. Even mid-year, if we asked our insurance broker, they would adjust our premiums and change it mid-year if we wanted.
Okay, so I'm comfortable with trusting the actuarial work for now, but I'm the analysis, but I'm certainly open in the future if numbers and claims start to spike and it ends up being not financially beneficial. Certainly, I think council should revert back.
Thank you. I'm going to ask CEO Angelo just to briefly comment on what you have done and what you continue to do to reduce our liability in the city, the operations center, vehicles, mechanics.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just, I guess, very briefly, because this is it's a wide range topic, but part of our process is to ensure that we're mitigating risk, because we check driver abstracts every month for every city employee. We have the operations center where we're doing all our fleet maintenance, about 80 to 90% of it all in-house. Every time we have a winter control event, we have a mechanic that comes in to ensure that our downtime, if there's a vehicle breakdown, our downtime is limited. So there's lots of things that we employ every day to ensure and we mitigate that risk. We have a camera system in our patrol vehicles where we're going out and patrolling to meet the minimum maintenance standards. And those work orders are generated automatically if they see a pothole, if that camera picks up a pothole that exceeds the minimum standards. So those are all things that we've employed using technology and our asset management plans to make data decisions, good decisions going forward based on data. So yeah, it's a wide range topic, Your Worship, but yeah, that's some of the things that we're doing.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Detachment Commander O'Byrne, are you familiar with the camera system that we have in place? Can you make any comments with respect to the camera system?
Yes, Your Worship. So the City of Quinte West has the closed circuit TV system that spans mainly the center urban core, and that's held by the city, but it's monitored at the detachment 24/7. So we have the ability to see certain perspectives and certainly some of our higher risk areas, and that data can be used by the municipality for whatever means. We certainly use it for monitoring and for enforcement, but the city owns the system itself.
Yeah, and it's through the OPP, the information that's gathered by the OPP and provided to us as to why we put so many cameras on in the area of Glen Miller Road and 401.
Yes, Your Worship. It certainly allows us to monitor some of the traffic that comes into our area, and it is used in enforcement investigations, yes.
Councillor Stedall?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to be clear is that I don't feel that there's any problem with the work that the staff has done on risk management. I believe that our staff has done a stellar job, and I've seen it since I used to work here. So I know it's improved drastically. I know they do a lot of work. I know we've mitigated and we continue to invest. I have no issues with the work that's being done in order for that. The issue with this is joint and several liability. If somebody else is a bad actor and we're named as a secondary to that, we're liable. So if somebody else is they have liability insurance and their liability insurance ends up being, they only have up to $1 million and the lawsuit's $10 million, we're on the hook for the balance of it. And that's what drives up our costs. So it's the joint and several. It's not our work that's being done at the city. It's not the risk the risk mitigation that we're doing. It's the fact that we have to still pay if there is another claim and we are named as a third party, and that can happen at any time all across the city for things that we're not even aware of. I've seen legal cases that have gone south in many municipalities. It's up to the judges. It's up to the evidence that's brought. The standards, the legislation changes all the time. There are so many pieces of the puzzle that's why I'm concerned about the $250,000. It can happen at any time, and it doesn't matter how much work we do. If we have an ice storm, or we have a facility failure, or we have a road or a bridge failure, something like that, because of the climate change, then that's where we can be on the hook for multiple cases at the same time, and they will each cost us the $250,000 deductible if we lose the case. And that's where I'm concerned about. So I feel the $100,000 is adequate for the deductible.
Thank you. Director Denowden, I know where she's coming from, but I also know that this, situation with insurance and insurance companies and so on is a big issue for all municipalities, not just us. So I'm asking you again, are you confident in your direction here?
Yeah, Your Worship, I think the issue of joint several liabilities is an issue that we're all advocating as municipalities to address. I still feel confident in this deductible being mathematically a better strategy even with joint several liability being an issue right now, but it's not. Yeah, we'll continue to advocate for the province to help us with this issue outside of the decision we're making today.
Anything else? All right, so then we have that in front of us at this time. The insurance risk management council approved the increase to the deductible of $250,000. Need a motion for that, and Councillor Card moves it. Do I get a seconder for this? A seconder? Councillor Quinte seconds it. Okay, we got a mover and a seconder. Any further comments? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that what I get? 5? And then I can vote? So I'm 6. 6 and, pardon? You voted too? Sorry, okay, we got 7 then. Motion's carried. We will go to 250,000. Thank you. Okay, the next one is the purchasing risk management regarding purchasing policy update. And further, that council approve proposed amendments to the city's purchasing policy.
Mr. Mayor, I think we already approved that one. We are on to Director Denouden's item.
Which one?
10.2A.
Oh, okay, 10.28, that's even better. Okay, Director of this one, a report from Caleb, this is just received, budget update, okay. Need a motion to receive, and we can discuss. Councillor O'Neill moves, Councillor Boyce seconds. Comments or questions? Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you very much, that's good. Planning and Development, minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held in December, that the minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee member meeting held on December 19th be approved. That's the 6th minutes of the Planning Divider of the 19th. Okay. All right. And this is the one you want to pull? Or no? No?
Councillor Quinte has his hand up.
Councillor Quincy? You're muted. Still muted, still muted. You're coming.
Am I?
You're good.
I just want to move the minutes, please. That's my motion.
All right, we got you.
I'll second that.
Okay, second. Any other comments? Any questions? Councillor Kutsovas.
If we do decide to move the minutes, I would save and accept staff report 24087 PD. And if I could just speak to it for a moment, the minutes don't seem to capture the overall tone of the meeting. Now, the neighbors were very respectful when they came to speak. They didn't have anything negative to say about needing more housing. They just had concerns about traffic safety, the location of the garbage bin, and privacy. So the traffic safety with a threeplex and the garbage bin location and the privacy can all be dealt with. I suggested making it 2 stories instead of 3. It would complement the neighborhood more. It would be in line with some of the existing structures, such as the 2-story homes. There's a unit on 290 Dundas Street that's 2 units, or 2 stories, pardon me. So the lack of a floor would lower the traffic. It would lower the parking spaces, so there would in turn be a separate location to put the garbage bin. I know the one neighbor indicated that the proposal was backed up onto his lot, and he wasn't in favor of that. So again, with the more opportunity to move the bin around, privacy, as the one gentleman mentioned, a lower story would not have that clear view into someone's yard or obstructs someone else's view. I think we have to be careful when there's a hot topic of the day, such as a need for housing. We can't rubber stamp everything just because we need it. We need to respect the existing residents that are there. We need to complement the area. So in turn, we're getting more houses. It used to only be a single house. Now they're proposing 8 units. We're somewhat solving the housing problem, and we're complementing the neighborhood. So again, I'm not in favor of the 3-story proposal, and I would move the minute, or I would support passing the minutes other than that actual report.
Okay. Director Jardine, you have any comments at this time? I knew you would.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, definitely the Councillor Kosova's comments relate pretty much to the conversation that we had at Planning Committee, and I think it's I think the comments I made were in the committee, particularly Planning Committee, sees this a lot, and Council here too, where it's the impact of change, or the perceived impact of change. And most definitely we're seeing a significant change in the type of housing, type of developments that are coming forward to the municipality. But one thing I refer to, and this relates to this type of development, is that while it is change, and it's a significant increase in relation to what's currently there, the analysis that we do and the policy is not the same for every property and in every part of the city under the official plan, and it does pay respect to the location and what the potential of that location is. And by that I mean its proximity to the downtown core, its proximity to major paths of transportation. And I know and I understand that from the perspective of existing residents who are living in low density residencies, but within an area that has potential for much higher density, that's a significant change. But one of the goals of the city's policy through our official plan and also mandated by the province is to seek the best use, the highest and best use from every property that's located in an area it has proximity or is serviced by municipal services, water, sewer, transportation, commercial, all of that stuff. This is one of those opportunities for maximising the potential use of the property. If you look at the official plan policies and stretch them out over 25 years, you are going to see more and more of this type of application in this type of location. And in order to meet the city's overall goals, we have to be open-minded and accept that type of development in. Definitely, while it's a compact site for sure, the proposal does fit within the official plan policies, does require a zoning, acknowledge that, but it fits within the goals of the city. And I think that if this is removed from the minutes, sent back to planning committee, we would have to take that back to the developer. They made some comments at the meeting to planning committee as to what the impacts on the feasibility of the development would be. But it's not just a financial thing, it's the responsibilities on the city, and we write reports based on our policy and based on achieving that maximum use or highest and best use for each property, residential property, and that's what we did in this case. So if council exclude it from the minutes, I would also ask if there's additional information required from the developer, because if we're bringing it back to planning committee, from the staff perspective, we would be presenting the same recommendation. I would not, there hasn't really been any conversation or any tangible information brought to the planning department that would make us change our recommendation to planning committee. So if some direction from the committee as to what we're bringing back to planning committee, that would be good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Cotzell.
Yes, thank you. Just to the fact, though, if someone were to just have purchased that land after the fire happened and they just built a single unit home, that's one family that may be living their maximum. Now this developer is potentially receiving, whether he wants to charge rent or if they're going to sell it outright for 8 spots versus 12 is what I'm recommending to appease the neighbors. I don't see how it would be financially still feasible, because again, someone might just build a house and live there, pay the property taxes, but this way we're just asking them to downsize a little bit to meet all the concerns. And it's not again that they didn't want the apartment building. It would complement that area, as you said, for a planning perspective. We're adding homes. It's just the actual size, and it's a bit of a negative impact on parking, on traffic, on other things. And just put another way, like food insecurities, when that's a big hot topic issue first, other than planning. We don't pass motions to make unsafe farming practices or growing poor quality food. Again, we just don't rubber stamp something because it's the hot topic issue. I just don't think we should approve every housing development at its largest capacity.
Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually live in the area and I have 2 apartments that surround me. If you don't allow this at 3 stories, you're running the risk that we'll get nothing there. And that really concerns me. And I'm surrounded by 2 apartment buildings. I'm okay with that. But their whole concern is if you go from 8 units or from 12 units to 8 units, that really affects your overall costs per unit. and that's where they were coming from. And
That's right.
I'm going with planning's recommendations, even though I live in the area.
Thank you. Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship, and this is very difficult issues. We deal with these issues at planning regularly, and I'm sympathetic to the neighbors in the community. Heard a lot of potential issues, and I am optimistic that planning, we can deal with some of those at site control. The developer did say, because I was kind of Councillor Kotzavos, similar thinking, and the developer did say in no uncertain terms that it wasn't, he didn't think that it was feasible with the smaller, because he had initially mentioned to neighbors in the first communications about what his plan, and it changed over time, because I think maybe the initial one wasn't financially feasible or something to that extent, I believe he communicated. These are very difficult issues. There is a housing crisis, and the community is relying on us, the province is relying on us and pressuring us to approve acceptable land uses. And these are difficult issues, and I know it feels like people are losing with the change within the community, and there's no answer that is going to make everyone happy, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that some of those issues can be addressed at site control, a lot of the garbage bins and some of the other things, hopefully, and find some sort of happy medium there that they can live with better.
Anything else? Okay, so we have the planning minutes before us, and I'm hearing that we want to approve them as they are written and as they have been carried forth. So I need a mover and a seconder for this particular motion.
Mr. Mayor, we have a mover and a
You're
seconder.
good? Okay, all right, okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. All right, the next is in wastewater. That's Public Works, Environmental Services. Matt, Tracy, do you want to just talk about first, Matt, the generator and the scrubbers and the chlorinator and so on?
Through your worship, thank you. Yeah, it's unfortunate I'm back here asking for more funds to complete this project. There's 5 emergency generators that were proposed. They have been pre-purchased. We have 2 emergency chlorine gas scrubber units that have been pre-purchased. Again, these are long-time delivery items. Moving forward, we combined all these into one installation project, put a bid out. Unfortunately, the bid came in considerably over budget. With only one bidder, but we had to look at our design through our consultants and debrief with the contractor, and we were able to change the scope of the project, remove some items that can be deferred to future projects, and come up with a cost savings of $649,000. However, then once I look at the remaining budget and looking at taking that cost with the city portion of HST, contract admin costs, and contingency, requesting that we have $550,000.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to move the recommendation.
Thank you.
I think this is very important to have and be in advance to have these generators in these facilities, and very important for our wastewater and all the other facilities indicated. Thank you, Mr. Tracy.
Councillor Boyce, second. Thank you. Moving to second. Any more comments? Councillor Settle.
Thank you, Worship. We discussed all of these generators a couple of years ago. I think our first term on council about, which one was in and out. Can you just refresh me on why we're putting the generator in the YMCA? I understand the water and sewage plants, but that one.
Well, I
Through your worship, yeah, the YMCA is chosen as a emergency location center, specifically for 401 closures and that type of thing, if they have to evacuate. So that's why it was brought forward, I think, I personally have just acquired that as part of the project with the other generators.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, next one is the decision item, resolution that final report dated January the 5th, 2025 from Mr. Tony Fleming, Integrity Commissioner, City of Quinte West, be received, and the council support the recommendation contained within. Okay, Josh, I'm going to ask you, I understand you had somebody indicate to you that the Integrity Commission was not necessary, not something we should be having. Do you want to just explain why we have the Integrity Commissioner?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council, the Integrity Commissioner is required by provincial legislation. Every municipality is required to appoint an Integrity Commissioner. It is one of the several accountability officers that every municipality has. So if residents have any issues with a member of council or a member of staff, there are avenues that they can go through to have any of those issues looked at.
Okay, I see Tony Fleming has joined us. Tony, do you want to add anything to those comments? Go ahead.
Nothing to add, Your Worship. Staff have it correct. It is a requirement of the Municipal Act to appoint an Integrity Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I got the resolution. I need to move in a second for the resolution. Don't I? Yes, I do. Moving to seconder for the resolution that we received, that the final report dated January 6th from Mr. Fleming, Integrity Commissioner, City of Quinte West, be received, and the council support the recommendation contained within. Councillor Card moves, seconded by, I need a seconder. Need a seconder. Councillor O'Neill seconds, okay. Any comments or questions? I guess that's where I'm at. Comments or questions? Councillor Katsovas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question to Mr. Fleming. I guess the best way to put it is, how do we protect ourselves if a claim is unsubstantiated? So anyone, just because they have a disagreement or they don't like someone, can come to you and say they have an issue with one of us. I'd just like to have your opinion on that.
Thank you, Councillor, and through you, Your Worship. You are correct. Any member of the public, any member of staff, a member of council can make a complaint to me about a member of council. What happens when that complaint is received is we look at the complaint and we consider whether or not it's a complaint that falls underneath the code of conduct. So I can tell this council that I don't believe in your municipality, but a number of municipalities that I am Integrity Commissioner for, I receive complaints that do not fall underneath the code of conduct, and I dismiss those complaints without an investigation. So I only proceed with an investigation and bring a report to council where there is a legitimate complaint. Now, the report to council may be that the complaint's not substantiated, depending on the facts and circumstances, but in order to bring that complaint forward and do an investigation, there must be some merit to the complaint itself. Put another way, if the facts as alleged in the complaint were true, then there would be a breach of the code of conduct. Then I undertake an investigation to see if, in fact, the allegations in the complaint are true, and then I apply the code of conduct and I bring my report to council.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to that point, what doesn't sit right with me is when you say they are dismissed. I know the Municipal Act doesn't allow for the resident to be charged, but it is unfair for the remaining residents of Quinte West for them to be paying it essentially out of their taxes because there's unsubstantiated claims or just because someone has a disagreement. As you said, you do dismiss them, but your time is still chargeable, right, and the residents have to pick up those costs just because someone has a disagreement with someone else.
Through you, Your Worship, that is correct. That is the process that's been imposed by the province.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe the city of Belleville charges a fee for a complaint. Could the city of Quinte West charge a fee that's refundable if the complaint is found viable, so we could get rid of some of these frivolous claims that go to you that shouldn't?
Through you, Your Worship, I have a number of clients whose codes of conduct do have a fee component to them. I have given an opinion to other municipalities that a fee, so long as the fee is reasonable, is justifiable and defendable under the code of conduct regime within the Municipal Act. So I can give council an example. I have a number of municipalities who charge anywhere from $75 to $150 per complaint. And as the councillor indicated, if the complaint proceeds to an investigation, that is, I determine that there was merit to the initial complaint, then there can be a refund. Some municipalities refund 50%, some municipalities refund 100%. It is up to council to determine what's in the best interest of your municipality with respect to that fee and or refund.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Anyone else? Anyone? Okay, well, thank you very much. I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation, and now I have to ask for a vote. So that's what I have to ask for. How many in favor of the recommendations that are put forth in front of you? That's what I have to have. One, two. So, okay, then if you're not in favor of the recommendation, what changes do you want made? I guess that's the question.
I guess, Mr. Mayor, at this time, I'll ask that council just at least receive Mr. Fleming's report.
Okay, all in favor of receiving the report? That's what I asked. Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was confused. I thought this was just to receive it, but you were asking to receive it and support the recommendation? Is that what initially?
Do it.
Okay, no, but what I'm saying is the initial one that I heard was just to receive it. And so, okay. Was it receive and recommend, or was it just to receive?
The motion that you just voted on was to receive and support the recommendations contained within.
Oh.
And Mr. Clerk, how else can you do it? If you receive it, you don't support what's in the report? Is that what you're telling me, or what?
I guess the distinction is that you're receiving the report, but council's not necessarily imposing the recommended penalties that Mr. Fleming is recommending.
Okay, so then that's the question, and we can receive the report as such, but we don't support the report.
Yes, at minimum, council is required to receive the report, but you do not have to support the recommendations.
Okay, all right, so all in favor of receiving the report? That's the question.
I'll receive the report.
We have to. Yeah, we don't have a choice. That I know of, that's what I'm saying. Okay, carried. Thank you. We received the report. All right, so then what's the next, Mr. Clerk?
Through you to council, if any other members of council would like to make a recommendation, or sorry, a motion with respect to the report, they can do so now. If not, we can move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay, okay. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go on to the next one then. Next recommendation, and that is, thank you, Mr. Fleming. You're unemployed right now.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, all right, the next is the proclamation submission received from Amelia Huffman, Communications Coordinator, the Alzheimer's Society of Hastings Prince Edward, requesting that January 25 be proclaimed as Alzheimer's Awareness Month in the city of Quinte West, and that council proclaim January 2025 as Alzheimer's Awareness Month in the city of Quinte West. So I need a mover and a seconder. Councilor Katsovas and Councilor Card move and second. Any further comments? All in favor? Thank you. Remember when it is. Thank you. All right. I'm sorry, I didn't read that the veteran sign be illuminated in the color blue, the remainder. Okay. All right, correspondence for council information, got printed and non-printed. Need to move in a second, Councilor Stedall moves, seconded by, Anita, Councillor Sharp, okay?
Sorry, Your Worship, I wanted to pull one item out of the printed.
Okay.
Item 12-1A, it's the correspondence from Minister of Municipal Affairs regarding the introduction of the proposed Municipal Accountability Act. There's some changes that have come up. It's been asked for by municipalities for a number of years with regards to municipal accountability by councillors. And this has been an item that finally the ministry has prepared a document on. And I'm just wondering, instead of putting a resolution, the resolution would be to have staff come back with a report and a recommendation, or at least give us some further information on this. The province is asking for municipal input on it. Over the years, there's been a number of different incidents that have happened that have been anyway, they need to be addressed. And I think this kind of reform is appropriate. And I'm wondering if we could ask staff to bring something back, ask the clerk, just to give us more information to see if we would like to respond.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm fine if we put that forth as a motion. Need a seconder. Councillor Sharp? You good, Mr. Clerk? All in favor? Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Anything else? Otherwise, both printed and non-printed are received? All in favor of receiving? Thank you. Okay. The one in there, the one item from broker Mark Rashad, owner Royal LePage Pro Alliance, regarding Quinte West development charges. I'm going to ask, I think we should make a comment with respect to his request here. Director Jardine, would you like to, at this time, or I guess Director Denouden, you want to make a comment on this? And of course, we're talking about development charges, what they're talking about, and we put it in place because we feel it's necessary for us to survive. But I'll leave it up to you. Got a comment? Or CAO? Or nobody, I guess that's what I'm getting. So. That's the one, number D. That's what I'm referring to.
So just bear with us for a moment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just as a general comment, we went through a public process and determined what the development charges would be for our municipality. As you are well aware of, there's a number of infrastructure projects that are required over the next 20 years to support growth and development and housing in our community. And with that in mind, that's how our consultant and staff have come up with projects to support all of that, and that's how those costs have come about. To start looking at and reducing some of those projects would mean it affects significant growth in our communities, and also would affect potential housing development. So we looked at that long-range planning, looked at what the official plan is and adopted by council for the next 20 years, and the infrastructure required to support that. Now, having said that, water and wastewater looked at the absolute build-out of the area, looking well beyond, the 30 or 40-year time frame, and that's how those charges, combined with the city charges, were brought together to form that $37,000 per unit.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not disagreeing with you because just give them an example of that wastewater line from number 2 on Willow Road to the plant. What are we looking at there, you guesstimate?
Yes, so from, and this is part of the delegation that Director Denouden and Councillor Stettles and Councillor Armstrong presented to the Minister, or the Parliamentary Assistant for Minister of Infrastructure, is that $30 million project from Fraser Park all the way to the west end of Trenton, about 5.9 kilometers of a large trunk sewer line to support development along the way, but primarily for that entire west end, supporting close to 5,000 new residential units in that area.
And what are you looking at cost-wise?
$30 million.
30 million, thank you. Okay. So we're hoping that MPP Alsop would hear this meeting and understand just how important any support that we can get would be applied, thankfully received, as they say. And Mr. Williams, the MP for the federal government, and Mr. Garrettson from Kingston, to know that we need help here. So, and I'm sure you made that clear in Toronto. I'm sure you did. Thank you. I see in Caleb's report. So, and unfortunately, it hasn't changed. Anyways, I appreciate that, Mr. Rashad, that you took time to let us know, and we're doing our best. We want more houses. We want more. We're the, what are we, the fourth or fifth largest growing community in the province of Ontario. So we're doing okay, but we still have to keep doing what we're doing. And the next number E is one you may want to comment on. We did get some emails with respect to E. Councillor Stidle.
Can I just get these clarified from the Director of Finance, that they were before we finalized our budget? So they were at the higher tax rate. They weren't at the final approved rate. So it was just the timeliness of the presentation, I believe, of the letters. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
I think you're right, but I think we need to indicate to everybody here, everybody listening and watching, that we do that every time we do our budget. We try to look at, the infrastructure needs and the services that we provide, and try to get the most out of everything we can before we do increase or do any tax increase. So the last thing is we don't want to do it, but we have to maintain services, and each and every one of the council members here, we all pay taxes too. So we understand, and we certainly continue to do our best. Any other comments? Go ahead. Anything else I've missed? Okay. I guess all in favor then. Bylaws, next is bylaws, be read first, second, and third time. Need a mover and a seconder for bylaws, please. Councillor Sharp and Councillor Boyce, moved and second. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. That's the way I can sign them. Okay, yeah, the one in there is authorizing borrowing money. That's a big one. Okay. All right, so we should be good then. Anything I've missed? Otherwise, we go to the confirmation bylaw? Okay. And two for confirmation and 2 for adjournment. We'll give you double the price. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You got a comment or question?
Say personnel.
Oh, yeah, we got to go to personnel, but we're done.
Yeah, can we just start personnel maybe in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
6:20?
Sure. Yep. Okay. We're